Aparna Kulkarni. In our last lecture, we have learned homophones, homographs, and homonyms. And today, today we are going to learn active voice and passive voice. Active voice and passive voice. But before starting this topic, I am going to clear you some things. What is the function of the voice? What the voice does? The voice of a sentence tells us whether the subject of a sentence performs the action or receives the action. What is done by voice? Voice tells us whether the subject of a sentence performs the action or receives the action which is expressed by the verb. Now see, here in active voice, what the subject is doing, what the doer is doing. In active voice, the doer is performing the action. The doer is performing the action. And what is in passive voice? In passive voice, the doer, the subject, he receives the action. He receives the action. Here he performs the action. Here he receives the action. Means the voice of the sentence tells us whether the subject is performing the action or receiving the action. That sentence where you notice that the subject is performing the action, it is called active voice. And wherever you notice that the subject is receiving the action which is performed by the verb, it is called the passive voice. For example, what is the sentence construction of active voice? Here subject is there. Subject is the doer who is performing the action in the sentence, and he is very important in active voice. So, the sentence construction of active voice is subject plus verb plus object. Subject plus verb plus object. And what happens in the passive voice? Here action is focused. Which action is done by the subject, that is focused. So, in passive voice, what is there in the beginning of the sentence? In the beginning of the sentence, object is there. After object, modal auxiliaries are there. Then past participle of the verb means V3 is there. Then by this preposition is used, means by whom the action is done. And then here the objective case of the subject is used there. Objective case of subject. But in some sentences, the construction after the by is not used and only object, auxiliary means helping verb and the past participle, this much construction is only there. And at that time we should not get confused, because most of the times what happens, we are not able to find out which voice is given in the sentence. First, while changing the voice of the sentence, one thing we have to always remember, find out the voice which is already mentioned in the sentence. In that question, which voice is given there, whether the active voice, whether the passive voice. If you are able to identify which voice is given, then you can convert it into the passive voice, otherwise into the active voice. So you have to remember that two types of voice are there, active voice and the passive voice. In active voice, the subject performs the action, and the sentence construction of active voice is a subject plus verb plus object. And in passive voice, the subject receives the action which is expressed by the verb which is mentioned in that sentence. And the sentence construction is object plus auxiliary verb plus the past participle, then the by preposition is there, and in the end what is there? The objective case of the subject is given there. Now most of the times what happens, we don't know what is the objective case of the subject. You people have to remember those also. Beside that, I'm going to give you a chart, and that chart also you have to follow while learning active voice and the passive voice. In that chart, what changes are taking place according to the tenses in active and in passive that I have mentioned. You have to follow the chart while solving the exercise of this topic. Now see what I am going to do. I am going to teach you according to the tense. Means first I am going to take the simple present tense and how to write down the passive voice of that simple tense, that we have to see. But one thing I would like to tell you, some rules are there and those rules you have to follow. While converting the active into passive, what do we have to do? Here suppose example is there, and what is that example? The cat killed the mouse. This is our sentence. The cat killed the mouse. You see, the cat is the subject, kill is the verb, and the mouse is the object. The mouse is the object. Now, how do we get object? Very easy. Ask a question by using the WH word, what. If you ask a question by what, you can get the object. Means, what did the cat kill? Answer is mouse. And so, here mouse is the object. Some sentences are there, they are having the double objects. See, whenever you ask a question by what to the verb, at that time you get the direct object. Which object? Direct object. Means the mouse is the direct object. Let me complete this explanation first, then I will tell you how to find out the direct object and indirect object in the sentence. Now see, the cat killed the mouse. Here the cat is the subject. Kill is the verb and the mouse is the direct object. Who is performing action here? Cat is performing the action. Means the cat is the doer. Cat is the subject. And that's why this is the sentence of the active voice. Which voice? Active voice. Now while converting it into the passive voice, what do we have to do? First, find out which tense is given in the sentence. Right. In this sentence, which tense is there? Simple past tense is there. Why? Because killed means the past tense of the verb is given and simple past tense is there. Now see, what do we have to do? First thing is there, objects becomes the subject. This is the first rule. What is that? Write down the object at the place of the subject. Means the object becomes the subject. Right? Second is there, use auxiliary verb. Auxiliary verb or helping verb. As it is the past tense, and so which helping verbs are used in the past tense? Was and were. If the object is a singular, use was. And if the object is a plural, we have to use were. And so the second is there, after that object we have to use auxiliary verb. Third is there, and what is that? Use the past participle of verb. Past participle of verb. Fourth one, write down the preposition by. This preposition we have to use there. And the last one is there, fifth one, and what is that? Convert the subject into the objective case. Now see, first is there, that object you have to write down at the place of the subject. Second, write down auxiliary verb according to the tense. Third, use the past participle of the verb. Fourth, write down by. And the last one, write down the objective case of subject. These 5 things are very important. You have to always remember them while converting the active into the passive. First step, what is there? Find out which tense is given there. Then second, follow these all rules and write down the answer. Because here you are able to find out the subject, verb and object construction. And subject, verb, object constructions means what is there? Active voice is there. And from this active voice, it is very easy for you to go into the passive voice if you follow these all things. Right? Now see, my next topic was there. What was that? As I told you, how to find out the object. I told you that some sentences are there and those sentences are having double objects. Means the what is there? Direct object is also there and the indirect object is also there. For example, I write here, I bought the baby a doll. I bought the baby a doll. Now see, here who is performing the action? I is performing the action. First person pronoun I is performing the action. And that is why I is the subject. Right? Buy, bought, bought. Means what is there? Here the V2 is there, verb is there, but that verb is given in the past tense form. So it's very clear that which tense is given here. Once again, in this sentence, simple past tense is there. And the third is there. What is that? The baby. And what is there? A doll. See, I told you, ask a question by what? What did I buy? What did I buy? I bought a doll. So it is the direct object. Which object? Direct object. Because here we ask the question by using the WH word, what. Second is here. Here I will write direct object. So it will be easy for you. Whenever you ask a question by what to the verb, at that time you get the direct object. And here a doll is the direct object. Now the second is here, ask a question by using the WH word whom. Use here whom. And what is that? Whom did I buy a doll? Whom did. Always remember that after WH word we have to use the auxiliary verb. As V2 is there, and see, remember V2 means what is there? Past tense is there, and past tense means did. We have to use did in the question. V1 means what is there? V1 means do. If this sentence is in the present tense, then which auxiliary you will use in the question? You will use there do. Suppose V1 plus S or ES is there. Means here buys is there. Otherwise, I brings a doll is there. Sorry, he brings a doll is there. Then what is there? Brings means what? S or ES is added means what is there? Does is there. So here what will be there? Whom did I buy a doll? Whom did I buy a doll? That is what? That is the baby. Right? The baby. Means here we got the answer the baby, and whenever we ask a question by whom, at that time what do we get? We get indirect object. Which object? Indirect object. And so here what is this? This is indirect object. What do you have to remember? Whenever we ask a question by what to the verb, we get direct object. Whenever we ask a question by whom to the verb, we get indirect object. Okay? Now you understood what is here? That a doll is the direct object and the baby is the indirect object. Now you can write down how many answers? You can write down 2 answers. See? You can use a doll also. You can use the baby also. And by using these are different object, you can write down the answer. Suppose first we take the direct object. Means what is there? A doll was. Right? First what is there? Object is taken at the place of the subject. What is the second rule? The second rule is according to the tense we have to use the auxiliary verbs. Past tense is there and that a doll is a singular. So what we used here? We used here was. A doll was. Then past participle of the verb. Buy, bought, bought. The same is here means a doll was bought to the baby by, and what is the objective case of I? That is the me. Means a doll was bought to the baby by me. Now the second answer we will write here, and here we will take the indirect object in the beginning of the answer. What is that? The baby. The baby was bought a doll, yes, by, right? In this way, those sentences which are having direct object and indirect object, we can write down two answers there by using the direct also, by using the indirect also. And see, any one answer which you will write in your answer paper, that will be correct. But what you have to remember? You have to remember auxiliary verbs. You have to focus on the tense of the sentence. Okay, if you make the mistake there, your answer will be wrong. Right? Now see, chalo, we are going to learn how to do the passive voice of the simple present tense. Simple present tense. Simple present tense. Now, active voice. In the beginning of the active voice, what is there? Subject is there. Present tense means what is there? Plus V1 means the present tense verb is there. Remember this. V1 means present tense verb. And if our sentence is having he, she, it, means if our sentence begins with third person singular pronoun, at that time s or es is added to the verb. Only with he, she, it. Okay, and last word is there, object is there. This is the active voice construction. Subject plus V1, S or ES plus object. Now, passive voice construction. A blackboard work chota hai, please try to understand. Then, passive voice is there. In the beginning of the passive voice, as I told you, what is there? Object is there. Right? After object, we have to use helping verbs or auxiliary verbs. Simple present tense is there, and in simple present tense, which auxiliary verbs are used? Am, is, are. Are you getting me? Okay. Then object. After object, we have to use auxiliary verb. AV means auxiliary verb, helping verbs. Then we have to use past participle of the verb. Means I'll write here V3. Past participle of the verb means V3. After that, preposition by is there, and last one what is there? This subject we have to write down at the place of the object. Okay? उसको हम लोग क्या बोलते हैं? It's objective case. Different cases are there. Accusative case is there, nominative case is there, possessive case is there. Okay, so in this way, what is there? Objective case is there. It's a very easy. If you learn these constructions, you can easily write down the answers. Simple present tense, subject, V1, S or ES. But remember that this S or ES is added only with the third person singular pronouns. Okay, and last what is there? Object is there. Then in passive voice, object plus auxiliary verbs, then past participle of the verb, means in short I have written here V3, then by, and then the objective case of subject. Objective case of subject. Okay, now I'll take your example. First example. Easy example I'll take here. See, I write a poem. I write a poem. See, bachcho, what is here? I is the subject. What is this I doing? What is this first person pronoun doing? It's a writing a poem. Right now, writing a poem means the action is performed by whom? By I. And action is performed. That's why it's a sentence of which voice? It's a sentence of active voice. So I write. Write is the V1. And a poem. Once again we will ask a question. What is that? What do I write? What do I write? Why do? Because the verb is in the present tense. Okay, so what type of object it is? It is the direct object. It is the direct object. So while writing the answer, we have to follow this construction. Right? What is the object? Direct object is the, so first, a poem. Auxiliary verb. As I wrote here, am, is, are. If your object is a singular, use is. If it is a I, then use am. And if it's a plural, then write down are. So we can notice here a poem means a singular, and so we have to use here is. A poem is. Now we have to write down the V3 means the past participle. Write, wrote, and written. So a poem is written by. It's already written in a construction, and the objective case of I is the means I write a poem. A poem is written by me. आप लोग समझ रहे हो? Okay. So in this way, whatever sentence may be there of the simple present tense, just follow these both constructions. You can write down the correct answer. Now see, here I write a poem. This is the affirmative sentence. This is affirmative sentence. So easily you wrote the answer because you followed it. Suppose यहाँ पे instead of I write a poem, I wrote, see, I write here, I do not write a poem. I do not write a poem. I do not write a poem. Second example. Same construction we have to follow. Okay. Only what we have to use there? We have to use not. What do we have to use? Not. Means a poem is not written by me. A poem is not written by. Okay? Means how to write down the passive voice of negative sentence. That also idea we got here. Only our prime focus is what? Our prime focus is are these both constructions. Right? And you have to learn these constructions because what is there? These constructions are going to help you a lot while writing the answers. Okay? Means these constructions are useful not only for this topic, but these are helpful. See, this active voice construction means the tenses only. And this construction means of all tenses, these all are important for you for the reported speech also. Means change the narration. And see, if you learn them very well, they are going to help you for the writing skill also. Because in your writing skill, grammatical mistakes will be not there. Your sentences will be correct. Because in all writing skill questions, we are given 1 marks for the grammar. And that's why you have to learn this all construction. It's okay, chalo. Then we have seen that how to write down the affirmative sentence also. We have how to write down the negative also because I just inserted not there and it became the negative. Right now? And we have seen it. Now, I think that you people might remember it. Okay? Now, see the same sentence is there and that sentence I will convert in interrogative sentence. Which sentence? Interrogative sentence means a verbal sentence. Verbal question. Sorry. Now, I write a poem. Now, this sentence is here. I write a poem. It's a simple sentence. It's a statement. Now, I have to write down the interrogative of it. And once again, here the do's forms play a very important role as they played in the negative sentence. So, write is there. So, in the beginning of the sentence, I will use do. Then the subject, do I. Then verb, do I write a poem? Question mark. See, easily we converted it into the question. Do I write a poem? And now we have to write down the passive voice of interrogative sentence. We have to write down the passive voice of interrogative sentence. See, If you have the command on the tenses, then easily you can write down the answer of it. So directly the answer can be written, the passive voice can be written. But suppose you are having the problem, then some steps are there and those steps you have to do as a rough work. And whatever correct answer is there, that answer only you have to write down in your answer paper. See, the first step is here. This is your question. This is the first step. In the first step, what you will do? You will convert this sentence into the statement. Means you will make the assertive sentence. Right? Statement. And in statement, there is no need to use the to. So, I will write first subject. Correct? Then, what is there? Ride. Ride will be as it is because the do is here. I write a poem. This will be my statement. Second step is here. In the second step, what you have to do? You have to write down the passive voice of this sentence. Just we learned it. Simple present tense. Right now? And now you are knowing the construction also. Of what? Of the passive voice. So, in the beginning of it, what we will take? We will take a poem. Right? Then, auxiliary verb. That is what a poem is. Past participle of the verb, written. Position, by. And what is there? By me. Okay, bacha? Here we got the passive voice. Right? And now we have to write down the answer. That is the answer of this sentence. And that only directly you have to write down in exam. Don't write these steps in your answer paper. Okay? Then, what is this? This is the interrogative sentence. Interrogative sentence. What? With the suitable auxiliary verb only. Means, in short, the passive voice of interrogative sentence is a question only, an interrogative sentence only. Now see, we have to write down the question of it. Very simple. What is the auxiliary? Is. Because what is the passive voice of interrogative sentence is a question only. Right? It begins with an auxiliary verb only. So what will be in the beginning of it? That will be is. Once we used it, there is no need to repeat it once again in the sentence. So is written. Is a poem. We have to write down from the beginning only. Is a poem with 3 written by me, and don't forget to give the question mark here because it is very important. Is a poem written by me? Okay, so this is the answer of this question. But in order to get the correct answer, what we did, we followed these both steps. And that's why what is here? We got the correct answer here. So, these both steps you have to do as a rough work, and this correct answer only you have to mention in your answer paper. See what we learned here. Here we took the simple present tense. We took the simple statement. Then we just inserted the negation in the sentence. And we learned the passive voice of the negation also. Then what we did? We converted the sentence in question and we learned the passive voice of the interrogative sentence also.